6th. Kareem will be here in just a little bit. You will notice that there is a Restream logo right up there. That'll be gone here in the future episodes. I unfortunately did not make it to the supermarket where I normally load money on the Visa card, and so the auto renewal for my Restream account after 6 months went out. So I have to go make it to the store to redo that. In the meantime, there will be this logo up in the corner, and I cannot use my custom backgrounds or clips for this episode. In the future, this will be fixed, but I will be re uploading this episode after the live is finished with an edited version that will have the logo removed, things cropped out, so it looks proper. I don't know if I'll add any clips or anything like that, but I have a bunch of editing to do for um, well, Adam Nutter. Everybody knows, I think, at this point that that's who I edit for. So yeah, I got to do a bunch of clips for him tonight, and a bunch of other stuff. Other than that, it has been boring. Bunch of random news stories that I don't really care to cover because the news has been really depressing and boring lately. And to be quite honest with you, I think that covering the cultural stuff and funny things are really more my style, anyhow. So I think that's going to be where we go moving forward, focusing more on the little things, which is what I like to do anyway. And I have a bunch of stuff that I want to touch on, conspiracy theories in the future, random insights, and political opinions. A lot of times those things come out in the tweets that I put out, and I hope that it conveys a certain bit of obscurity in the way that I think. I have a tendency to have a lot of poetic ideas. Twitter is a good place to put those. The internet isn't a good place to put those in general, though. So, has a tendency to weird people out, and sometimes the way that I write has a tendency to do that in general. Um, Other news, I am now on backed.buy. So if anybody wants to support the show, I don't want to build up I don't want to build up a following on Patreon or services like that, especially as this show goes forward. Some of the topics that I plan to cover are going to be things that I frankly can't even put on YouTube. They're going to have to automatically be put up on things like BitChute and um, I guess now Rumble, which is the new hotness, and some of it I believe will work on a bunch of other random video sites like that, but um, not a YouTube thing. Those kind of stuff and videos in the future, and just people who want to support the show, that's going to go through back.buy. So back.buy/outlawed thoughts. Right now, if you go there, you'll be on the home screen for back.buy. It's just where you can support me at this point. I have no content up there yet. I have a bunch of stuff that I am recording, so trailers and things like that for the channel. Um, New branding in general. I'm going to have to hire some artists for some of the stuff that I have to do, but most of it I can do myself. I've always been good at that crap, putting together the audio layouts and things like that, and graphic design, thumbnails, all that bullshit. And in the near future, I have some plans to travel to some different places to do some things for the show and just make content in general. This next summer, I have work lined out and things like that, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what my plans are. But at this point, um, I think taking off to kind of a new vibe in general would be interesting. I've been looking into some countries that are less traveled to, places that I could disappear to for a while to make content that would be interesting, some places to write in. I've passed around the idea of heading over to Israel to more to the Palestinian side. I've tossed around the idea of Afghanistan or some areas like that in the Middle East. But I am, we'll see how things go. We'll see how things go after this next work year, what I decide I want to do. I feel like I want to do something out there. I haven't done that in a while. Used to be popping up in random US states was the fun thing to do. So thinking a little bigger this next time. But we'll see how that things go. Um yeah, today I got a bunch of random stories to cover, some videos to react along to. Well, yeah, that's an interesting situation over there because it's like, well, technically I have a bunch of heritage that's on the Israeli side of things, but on the other end of the spectrum politically, I disagree with all those cocksuckers. So it's a weird place to be. But it is an interesting space, and not a lot of people go over there. So it'd be an interesting opportunity from a journalistic perspective. A good way to write some stuff that's a little different than what I'm normally used to. The same is true for Afghanistan, sort of the post U.S. occupation stage of things. I thought about Russia, Ukraine, and that drama, but I think it's all just a little bit too fresh. The same is true for Mexico. Whereas I think with the Israel Palestine stuff is always sort of the same. Same is true with Afghanistan, but post U.S. occupation, it's going to be interesting to see what that place becomes. And the markets I've heard are insane. I heard you could get a hold of a lot of guns to shoot and stuff like that. Iraq, yeah, Iraq would be interesting. It'd be easy to do like a trip fairly cheap around any of those areas. People don't realize how like inexpensive it is to travel in those spots, and I love like traveling without money. It's like my favorite thing to do. So, be interesting to grab a go bag and go, see how far I can make it. There's a ton of like historical sites over there I'd love to take pictures of and write about and do little videos on while I was over there. So there's a lot of stuff I'm looking at in that regard. Um, and then as far as coverage on the show, I'm going to be covering a lot more of what I refer to as the kind of outside the mainstream theories and stuff like that. And then what I mean by that is, um, often, and I don't know how many other people watch this kind of content on YouTube. I love like kind of true crime, mystery, conspiracy videos, sort of the barely sociable Nexpo sort of vibe. If you know those content creators. But I've noticed lately sort of this infinite void that happens within the YouTube spectrum. Hey, oh, look, he's tiny. Haha, the Israeli over the Arab. It always works.
There you go. I will fight
But
again.
so all you missed was me kind of going through life updates and show update stuff. I'm talking right now about some travel stuff that I was thinking about doing, but it got me talking about um what I want to start covering on the channel, which is what I was referring to, kind of outside the mainstream theories or mysteries, things along those sort.
Ah,
I love like barely sociable and like Nexpo and content that has to do with a lot of that stuff. Hey, I think your webcam just clicked off, just FYI.
yeah, I'm just just
And
adjusting.
I like those kind of YouTube videos, but I almost get the feeling, and I don't know, maybe other people out there listening get the same feeling. When I'm watching those shows, that it's almost like they all pick from a list of like 500 mysteries or conspiracies, and that's it. And no one really strays outside of that. So there's all these little stories and little mysteries that just don't get any coverage at all. Recently, I was looking on TreasureNet. TreasureNet is a great place. If anybody, you guys should all check this forum out. It's like a treasure hunting forum, but if you live in a state, you can go on there and you can start reading about some stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that passes through with conspiracy theories and different random mysteries that are unsolved. Because a lot of times it's like, oh, I'm missing treasure, whatever. So I was looking into this plane that went missing, this Douglas C-54, I believe it is, that went missing in Alaska. It had a bunch of passengers on it. They never found it, so on, so on. while I'm looking and reading about this mystery, and this thing's been talked about on YouTube again by, you know, giant channels, been, just put out there over and over again. No one ever really finds anything new about it. It's all the same old shit. Um, where I'm reading about this, I come across this other random forum post talking about a Douglas C-49 that was flying from Alaska to Canada and that crashed with like 11 Navy officers on board. And when it
Yeah.
crashed, it had 400 pounds of gold and like $200,000 in payroll on it.
What?
And so I go looking on YouTube, I go looking on Reddit, I go looking on all these places to kind of find more about the story. I find the flight records for the plane. I confirm that this crash did actually happen. I confirm that there was money on board, all of this stuff. But no one has talked about it. There's all these videos about all these plane crashes and different things that have happened in the same vein, but nobody's bothered to talk about this one. And it sort of just brought me down this rabbit hole where I'm like, yeah, there's just hundreds of stories like this. Like, you can just pick a state, pick a town, pick a county, and you can find some stupid story that nobody's ever talked about that involves money getting stolen. Like in the case of this plane, they went back and found it 5 years later. They claim that they got all the bodies but didn't find any of the gold or money, which is a bit odd to me. It either means that there's 200 or 400 pounds of gold sitting up there in the mountains, about 20 miles from the Chobe Lakes in Canada, or it means that somebody embezzled all that money and stole it when they collected the bodies that was working for the government. So either way. No, I was mentioning the fact that thinking about maybe eventually here after this next work season making the trip to like Afghanistan or Iraq or um, somewhere off the wall that people don't go. Um, I toyed around with Syria, but that just seems like a death wish. And so I'm like, I think I'm. I thought about
Wait, you guys
Israel.
DMing. Hey,
I thought
Saudis.
of,
Oh, shit.
I thought about going to Israel and then going more towards the Palestinian side of things and going and checking that out. Which would, I'm sure, piss a lot of people off. But it would certainly be something good to write about. That was what prompted David to say in the chat, "Don't get killed by the IDF." What have you been up
Okay.
to? Anything interesting?
Just doing podcasts and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. Nothing off the wall. I have been getting ready for this protest thing, and then also we did like a little show yesterday on everything going on. Did on the
Are you going out to DC?
yes.
Oh, you are. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be probably. I want to do that Mises event, then I might take a break for a while of other stuff I want to do. So, yeah,
Cool.
definitely
I
doing that.
I wanted to go, but it's just so far, and like if I do that, then I'm not going to be able to do like any other events because it's going to cost a lot. And then I've got to like fly in, do the protest, and then leave the next day. It's like, just seems like a lot. I don't know. If I could figure out a way to do it, I would. But it's like I'm working, so it's like weird. But I did get into a whole Twitter drama over that shit. Um, because of the whole like Scott Ritter drama.
Yeah.
Um, which I'll say this about the whole thing in general. I think that it's smart to have this rally. I don't necessarily think it's smart to include some of the people that were included. I think coalition building is one thing, but when you're taking on a union with kind of out and out Marxists, I think that's a little bit of a push. And I will say that so Josh Smith, who today has resigned from the position of vice chair of the party, um, he read the Scott Ritter documents and the court stuff. And I went ahead and read some of that stuff as well. And yeah, nah, nope.
But,
Um,
but wait, but wait, but wait.
in the words of Nick Krikeda, the wall.
Here's
And
the thing. I I'll say this: when it comes to nuclear war, biowarfare, a real big thing.
I'm not talking about fucking nuclear war. I'm talking about kid touching. Good
Oh,
old. That's some. I don't care how fucking anti-war you are. I don't care whether you're fucking Gandhi. It's fucking.
no, that's wrong. That's wrong. Okay. The People's Party I saw is coming to that protest.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't like the People's Party or whatever. Like I don't agree with them. I think they're stupid. To use a word that some Todd Hagopian, very small-minded individuals want to talk about on Twitter, I think it's retarded. But it is what it is.
You know why?
People are going to get involved with it. I don't know if you saw that, but Todd Hagopian, the treasurer, I believe, or whatever, or I don't even know what position he holds at this point for LP National, is taking up the battle of telling people in the Libertarian Party not to use the word retard because it offends him, and it also offends some yoga pants wearing fed bitch who has somehow been covered by every fucking person from here to Sunday. I am over it. How these fucking people
I saw that. I know
again and again are able to enter people's psyche and become the main talking point of people. For fuck's sakes. It's like, is ass really that important to people? Come on.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's the problem. I think what happens is dudes are like, oh, a hot chick has an opinion about something.
Well, so, she has it easy already. She can print money online. This is the culture that America has fucking created. We need to burn it to the ground and stomp on it. This is the culture that is destroying the United States. It is chicks like that are part of the fucking problem.
I agree. It's very interesting to me that women will be like, we're oppressed. We don't need no man. And then they get on Twitter.
I'm so anti-war that I can't get distracted by trivial things like child molestation. Yeah, here's the thing. My take on that is
drama.
No one was convicted. The guy has the right to speak. He has the right to speak within the court of public opinion. The only debate that can be had here is whether or not you believe people should endorse this person as a speaker at an event. If it was up to me, from the very beginning, this guy would not have been included. There is Scott Horton at this event. There is other individuals at this event who are far better at talking about anti-war issues. I will put Scott Horton up against any motherfucker who wants to go on the board and talk about anti-war problems. Period. I've listened to the guy cover basically every conflict I can think of in modern history. And the fact is, I think it was a mistake to have included him from the beginning. I don't know who made these decisions because I don't care. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. The decision was made. He's talking. He wasn't talking. Now he is talking. Hopefully he gives a good speech. Hopefully he does good things. I'm sure he will. It's one of the big problems I have with some of the stuff at the event is there is some stuff coming out of there that I think is a little bit pro-Russian, and I'm not a big fan of that. Because as much as I think Russia is not necessarily the pure aggressor in this conflict, I think an anti-war event with Marxists who, again, are real tanky Marxists, like real fucking shitheads, have an opinion that, that's Mother Russia. That is sort of the motherland, and that kind of culture goes along with it. And I think that's not great either. But I think as a whole, this event is amazing because it gets a bunch of people together, and it's going to be good for everybody to.
That's my thought on it. I haven't looked at all the speakers. I haven't looked at all the drama. I haven't looked at all what's going into all this. Just because of the sheer fact, like I'm busy, I got stuff to do. So I'm like,
No, and
okay.
I don't expect people to care about this shit. I know
I
people watching this show will understand what it is I'm
yeah,
talking about.
I am actually, and I'm hardcore actually anti-Marxist. By the way, Bakunin was anti-Marxist. If people don't know, I hang. Yes, I hang out with the Ancon people. I get it. You can make fun of me, and all that stuff.
I will.
Um, but they are cool dudes, and they do believe in anarchy. And some of them have read Rothbard, so I think that's pretty good.
I don't
Um,
believe they believe in anarchy, but continue.
they actually do, and they even gave me advice on here's how what I would say. They believe in decentralized communities. I believe in free markets, but actually that
I
they even
do
have
not think you can get to any communist endpoint without the government being involved. I don't think it's possible.
the
And
way
if you
they
can show me a communist existence on any kind of scale that has done that without the government being involved as a tool or asset that has pushed forward the force to put in that operation, then I'll be very surprised. But I've never seen one.
the way me and these people get along is like we talk about different ideas, and they're not
Mhm.
funny enough with like mutual aid and stuff. They're not super far off from what I would what I was thinking about, and we get along on a lot of things. So
Yeah, I think if people at this point really want to make a difference within the grand scale of culture in the liberty movement, what we're going to have to start looking at is building enclaves of libertarians. And I
mhm.
am not referring to the Free State Project. I am not referring to jam packing a bunch of people into a liberal state that is going to destroy everything you fucking build, whether you like it or not. Because at this point, um, I don't view them as being able to be as successful as they think in New Hampshire. Now, um, I'm coming from a state of Alaska. I posted today on Twitter or yesterday on Twitter that this is a failing state and that Alaska is right now going to be doomed to be just like every other state if they do not get their act together. And I talk about Alaska nationalism, and people go, well, what is that? And it's like, well, that's the idea that this place was never supposed to be a part of the United States of America in the sense that it has become. We are not supposed to be connected to this financial entity that is dragging us into the ground. I am advocating completely for the state of Alaska to cut itself off from the United States and to go its own way. I think that at this point, it's the only way this state can recover economically.
Maybe.
Beyond all of that, from the ANCAP, ANCOM, whatever position, I just don't think that, like, we talk about the culture, and I talk about how we need to stop glorifying or even talking about these kind of like yoga pants wearing feds or Sarwakian, tards, or people telling us what words to use on Twitter, things like that. Those are the people that we need to laugh and point at and disregard. And I would say at this point, if we want to build up some kind of culture that actually lasts, the only way
Hmm.
that we're going to be able to do that is to centralize it in a way where, okay, we got 10 people who all kind of agree on the same page, right? We're like, hey, we're old school. We want to have kind of this orthodoxy in a way of living, right? And what I mean by that, an orthodoxy in a way of living would be like, we want to live semi off the grid. We want to make content that's
Hmm.
uncensored. We want to upload it to the internet. We want to do all this stuff, right? Okay. Get 10 people that all feel that same way, move to the same place, buy a piece of land, and build houses. It doesn't cost that much money. It doesn't take that much energy. If there was enough people willing to do that, then you build up little networks of people. You all produce different things. And in 30 years, none of this government shit will matter in the same way. The agorists are right in that way. The agorists just do not apply it properly. And I'll call them out in that regard. The agorist will build things for themselves, and they believe that that is going to solve their problem. At least that's what I see. I'm not trying to put words in their mouths because I hate doing that, but that's just what I see. Um, I don't think that's the solve. I think the solve is to expand upon that idea and make it more about building vast communities as fast as possible. And that is what is missing in a lot of these movements. We need to create a lot of we need to create big communities as fast as possible. And we need to do it through the internet, right? Like, again, we have all these shows. Get 10 guys together who all want to make content, have them all build little studios, and then move to a specific area. Stop with the attempting to decentralize to the point where it's a deficit to you. And that's where I think we get into this spiral where everybody is, well, we need to be a decentralized movement. Yes, but also you need to take into account that you don't have a ton of members, you don't have a ton of reach. So you need to centralize that to help you grow. And so that's what I think. Again, it's just like the stuff I talked to you before about with the secret society shit that weirded everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got in
Yeah,
the chat?
no, I 100% agree with like everything you were saying. We'll see how the event goes. Um, I did not know. I didn't know that Josh Smith quit recently.
Oh
I didn't.
yeah, that was that happened today. He Joshua Smith resigned from the VC vice chair position on the LP. I actually don't know what that means. Like, as far as how a new VP gets picked, whether they leave it empty or whether
Do
they
you know
pick
why he
somebody
did it?
interim. He put up his reasoning. I don't want to read it on the show yet. If anything, I'll do like a separate video. But he thinks that there's part of it was the fact that Marxists were allowed to be present for this event. Part of it was the fact that he thinks there's a lot of backroom stuff going on. I can't confirm or deny that kind of stuff. The reality is that I think in general, people politics is a really fucked up game. And whether people want to admit it or not, if you're involved in the libertarian movement to a certain degree, you are involved in politics. And again, like I said in that last video, people need to be prepared to be dirty. People need to be prepared to create, you know, yeah. Again, I don't need to
Passion. Yeah.
air that stuff, but the way that I feel is like, yeah, a lot of this stuff can be solved by people creating enclave communities within these political movements. And
Great. And I'm sorry when you keep saying enclave. I keep thinking of
it means what I think it means, right? I'm not one of those small-minded people like Todd Agopian talks about. Let me check.
no. I was thinking of enclave as in
The video game.
yeah, Fallout.
I've played Enclave, yeah. Um,
But yeah, no, I know what you're saying. As far as I'm concerned, that's kind of my thing too. Like politics isn't where I tell the agorists this. The agorists are like, we'll use common law, we'll use this, we'll get out. I'm like, I like a lot of the methods as a tactic. My question is this: like at the end of the day, if you don't have any power, someone has power, and they don't like you, they want to come after you or your family or friends or whatever, they're
shout
gonna
out
do
to
it.
Rise to Liberty.
So my thing is this: unfortunately, I think you do at some level. It sucks have to play the political game. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to be a scumbag, but you do have to play the political game. I'm not crazy about some of the people they invited to this event either. I think that it's a bad idea that you know some of these people are there, but I I've always said this, like, even if it's someone I didn't like, even if it's someone I think is, crazy on a specific, they came to me and they're like, hey, I'm good on just this. issue. I'm going to do this, um, and we'll work together. Even if I don't like them, if I think the issue is worth it, I'd do it. So
Yeah, I think it's just a difference of how people want to deal with things. I don't think this event is a net negative. I think it's a net positive. I just think that there's this stigma that will come from doing things like this, that it's a stink that will be very difficult to get off of the party once it's there. And I think that you know, what is the difference between siding with Black Lives Matter in 2020 and 2019 and siding with Marxist in 2023?
but I'm not necessarily. Well, I think there is a difference.
I do. I think there's a difference, but people are going to have to decide how big of a difference that is. I am saying
Say
I
that
am here.
Ron Paul
I'm not.
said build coalitions with anybody.
Yeah,
The difference is and I think it's very clear. Joe Jorgensen was playing politician, which I did not like that move. I still voted for her because of Yemen. I still did not like what George Jorgensen did. I think Joe Jorgensen was pandering. Now, if someone says, I have these beliefs, Cream, you have these beliefs, but we agree on this thing. Like, let's say Marxists said, okay, we both agree that Yemen is wrong and Palestine's wrong, and we're going to protest that. Say, okay, well, I think that's a pretty big issue. Genocide going on. People are dying. Kids are dying. I think that's something that, even though I don't like you or I don't agree with everything, we should coalition on that with Republicans. Even though I'm like, look, you keep making excuses for Trump and then this and then this. And even if people like Dan Crenshaw or whoever, I'm like, fine. I don't think it's a good idea. But if they're like, let's fight for gun legislation or let's repeal red flag laws, okay. That's how I look at it. I'm and that get you a little bit dirty? It does. But yeah, we don't have the numbers, unfortunately. If there were tons and tons, if there were tons and tons and tons of libertarians, no, I'd probably just stay like, okay, fine, I'll just work with libertarians and agorists. But there just isn't. There just isn't. You know, even some people don't know what it is. I literally had I've knocked on people's doors and I explained to them I'm a libertarian, and then they said, "Oh, so your views are this, this, and this." And I said, "Well, there's actually this." She said, "How could you be a liberal?" I said, "Libertarian." They're like, "What's that?" So some people didn't even know what that was. Some people didn't even know the existence about it. So that's one thing. A lot of people in the United States just don't know. I mean, me and you know, but I think a lot of people just don't know. And since that's the case, we got a coalition build. Now, I think we should be careful who we do it with. I don't think we should do it with anybody who has even the potential conviction of um, doing stuff like that. But, but if someone is just like a Bakunin guy, or someone just has an idea about this that I don't like, heck, I'll coalition with just about damn near anybody except like probably neocons because I can't find anything to think. But like, if a Marxist said let's legalize sex work and end the drug war and protest war, okay, I'd
right.
say like Marx is a piece of shit, but let's do it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't
I,
think it's smart to coalition build with Marxists because I think they go against what we're trying to build.
that I
And
agree with. Now, Bakunin people know, and comms know. I know you don't like me
I
hanging out with you.
I might disagree with you to some extent. I don't disagree with you on that entirely. There are plenty of ancoms that I find to be completely fine. I just
Woo!
think that the core belief, if they believe it, is not compatible with the things that they claim it is. I want to read this from JC. Seems to at least be worth a try to coalition for a broad goal many people should agree on, especially in such polarizing times, just to prove to ourselves that it's even possible. Yeah, I agree. That's why I think it's a net positive. I think that ultimately the event shows that hey, these people can come together and can stand against the kind of military stuff. I do. Again, I think the Marxist should be excluded from that, but that is what it is, and those decisions are made. They weren't made by me,
Yeah,
so that's what it
and
is. Um,
like
the
I saw
coalition
like
with the People's Party is a mistake. Yeah, so I don't disagree with Rise to Liberty, and this is my point. I think that especially with the People's Party, I don't know if that's necessarily a smart move. It is what it is. One of the things is everybody likes to dogpile on Angela, and I think that's happening a lot. I think that's
hmm?
wrong. I don't think
I don't
Angela
know why.
has. Well, it's just here's the thing. She is the chair of the Libertarian Party, right? She's the one in charge. So when people are giving the LP shit, that's who's going to get it, and that is what it is. I don't want to see that happen because this probably wasn't even Angela's decision ultimately to make the coalition, but I do think it's somewhat of a mistake. That is my opinion, though. And I think that there's a lot of people who hold the opposite opinion. They think it was a good thing. So I don't think it's an easy thing for me to necessarily make a call on because there's so many people involved on the back end. And I have no idea what those conversations were like. I
Mm.
don't know what the cooperation between different people. So it's tough, but I definitely don't necessarily think it was smart. I think it was probably a mistake. Um,
Probably.
but we'll see. It'll all flesh out. I mean, this is
No, I
my
haven't
this is my
actually looked.
official statement. My official statement on the whole like health of the movement is that I am sticking around and going to be fighting very hard up until 2024 to see how this whole movement pans out and goes. Past 2024, I have to reevaluate. I have to take a look at where everything stands, and I have to decide where my energy is going to be best spent past that point. That is where I'm at currently. I'm going to be going to a lot of events. I'm going to be
Mhm.
writing a lot, making a lot of videos talking about the issues that are happening in a lot of these states that I've come more acquainted with: Florida, Alaska, these areas, Colorado. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how things go. But 2024 is going to be a good gauge for things. I think the lead up for it. Really the next 10 months. Really. Well, I have a couple stories we can cover.
Yeah, we'll
Uh,
see. Are you saying you're revaluing, like, if you want to be in the Libertarian Party or what you want to do
Not
after?
necessarily in the Libertarian Party. Um, I mean, I don't necessarily think I'd ever not be a libertarian, but the way that I involve myself, I think there's other political movements and there's other ways that you can leverage yourself.
Hmm.
I've always thought about, again, this is goes back to my playing a little dirty, and could you personify, listen, okay, and this is just, I'm going to say this and people are going to get pissed. We all know how conservatives think, and we all know how Republicans act and think, and
Hmm.
we know what liberals want to hear, and we know how liberals think and act. We are in a unique position where we understand both sides of the fence, both sides of the political regard, almost better than they do. Which means if we can indoctrinate either side of that fence, not necessarily with the idea of passing your actual beliefs into their system, but rather tearing their system down, I think there might be a good opportunity there. And I don't think it's something that's been explored enough. Like an AOC discredits a big portion of the leftist movement because she's an idiot. And um, Crenshaw makes a big portion of the Republicans look like warhawk Zionist shitheads.
Hmm.
So if you can If those people can get into their positions and make a group of their party look that way, then you can get into that position and make a group of the party look a certain way. And you can use that as a tool to get things that you want. So I think that's something that people need to be looking at. Uh,
You're saying
yes,
infiltrate.
yes, this is JC is perfect. We need to catfish the right and left, so to speak. Yes, exactly. And we already have all the tools to do that. We have the knowledge. We have people who look the part. We have people who speak the part. We're already a big portion of the way there. People just aren't catching on. Um, and I mean, I've been talking about it for a while, but that's just where I'm at. I
Yeah,
think
we
that's
need to
gonna.
solve Leeson's HCQ, however we do. That's what I think. And do the great work. Although I'm not gonna lie, I've been hanging out. Also, yes, I've been hanging out with the friendly and calm people. And I sent you the thing, the Mad Liberty. But I've also been hanging out with like people like Paul Unslaved, if you know who that is, and Jeffrey Phillips and all that, and Justin Padini. Been hanging around with the Agorist crowd, if you want to really put a name. And they're like, "Why are you voting? Why are you doing all this political stuff? Just learn common law and learn different ways to maneuver
That Justin
around
guy has some,
documentation."
the Justin guy has some weird takes on Facebook.
Fine, whatever, but I like him. I get it. People in the liberty movement sometimes do like weird things. I get it. Like, there's sometimes Paul Slave saying something, or Jeffrey Phillips, or
Wasn't
Justin.
he involved in the whole? He was involved in that whole anarcho polko thing.
I don't know.
That whole thing looks like a shit show, man. That anarcho polko thing is scary as shit to me. That it seemed to me like that was all like a giant money scam. Like, personally, that was my take on it. I didn't trust that shit.
I don't know about Jeff Berwick. I've heard a lot of bad things. I've heard a lot of good things. Here's what I'll say. There's still people among the agorist movement, like Larkin Rose when he debated Joshua Smith. And part of me is like, no, you got to take political action. Part of me is like, maybe just learn common law and evade the whole set. Just call it a day and say, I'm not going to vote. I'm going to delegitimize the system. So part of me still thinks like that.
JC knows the way.
David Brady's got
David Brady, the Daily Wire.
Don't lose YouTube subscribers, though, or they'll kick you out. Be like Steven Crowder all over again.
I used to think there were too many man children in libertarianism. Then I encountered an ANCOM community. You don't want children to be in ANCOM communities. They're way more likely to put those kids in furry shoots and stick their fingers in places they don't go. Oh, what? Oh, how's that for coalition building?
That ain't too good.
Fucking furries. Kill it with fire.
I did not encounter any furries or any weird things to be
Fuda-loving Discord addicts. That's who make up the ANCOM community.
If people want to keep fighting about the trans thing, and I'm not like, that's not a main issue.
I'll fight them about the trans thing.
I don't have an opinion.
How hard do you want it? I saw this.
Maybe the agorists are right. You just get a little cabin in the woods and say, I'm not voting. Does that seem like
I think they're right to an extent, but I think they miss a big part of it as well. Let's watch this. This is a self-driving Tesla abruptly stops on San Francisco Bay Bridge, resulting in an 8-car crash. So you're going to see, I want you guys to look at the entrance to the tunnel where you see the light. You're going to see a Tesla come through here and just slam on the brakes. There it is. Tesla, white Tesla right there. Boom. Stops. Cars are just going to keep piling up because they don't have time to stop. And they're just piling up in the corner there. It's just madness. Absolute madness. And now he's going to get out and go, oh, you don't know what just happened. So all that was caused by that Tesla just stopping in the middle of the roadway. It reminded me of the Michael Hastings thing, like big time. Like Michael Hastings was a journalist who like wrote about a bunch of the Obama era stuff and wrote about this general that badmouthed Barack Obama that Obama had to fire. And then he came back over to the US and his car was he was just like slammed into a tree on the Hollywood Hill or Hollywood at like, absorbent speeds and shit. And I heard, everybody has always theorized that his car was basically controlled. Um, but it kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, something tells me he's the one that's going to be liable, not Tesla. Yeah, the right. I would think so. Like, you would think he has the time to deactivate, hit the gas, go forward. Like that's all he needed to do. Instead, he like stuck his blinker on and shit and just sat there. It's
Yeah.
kind of nuts. And then I saw this is an interesting story as well. I saw this video was going around, and certainly a weird happenstance. This was around the balloon thing. This is NASA planes circling above Canada for hours. What are they looking for?
Hey, what's up, guys? Over here at FlightRadar24.com. You're looking at the flight path of a NASA airplane that's been flying up here in the Ottawa, Montreal area all morning long for several hours. Not just one, but there's two NASA planes. Here's the flight path of the other one. This one here left off the east coast of Virginia early this morning, and it joined this plane here that flew in out of Atlanta. They've been circling up here looking for something for several hours, or at least that's what it appears to be. This plane right here you see is a Canadian airplane, and there's also, again, two NASA airplanes that have been flying around in this region almost like they're looking for something, and again, they've been up there for.
So I saw a lot of people passing this video around because this guy's a pretty trusted YouTuber and he has a lot of subs, and I've watched his content for a while. Um, it seems to be connected to the balloon stuff in a way because it's right around the area that the balloon circled over in Canada and went down. And I know that balloon went over the Aleutians. Dan Sullivan, who's like our senator, has come out and said that, and Dan Sullivan was high up in the military as well. He's in charge of, I believe, a certain portion of the military here in Alaska. He stated that he wanted to shoot it out of the sky basically the second it was over the Aleutians. And they basically said no. So the idea that it couldn't have been knocked out sooner is kind of insane to me. I saw people making references like, "Oh, we don't need to do it," and it's like, yeah, it's kind of in sight. You have to get rid of that fucking thing, and it should have gotten rid of much sooner than it was. But the question becomes, why did the balloon come through when it did? And one of the things that I was mentioning is, well, maybe that balloon was doing exactly what the NASA planes are. It was just basically to look at whatever they were doing, figure out whatever it was they were searching for, which is kind of an interesting idea, kind of a alien conspiratorial something happening.
I want to believe. Are we getting to X-Files now?
Yeah.
Did you know that they're shape-shifting entities that are in charge of most of the world's governments?
Yeah. This is a good comment from JC. They just want us to lease EVs, not own them or repair them ourselves. Yeah, that's exactly true. Like, everybody doesn't realize, like, my dad, for instance, went to trade school briefly to learn how to work in mechanics on older vehicles. And I learned a little bit from him here and there to the point where I'm pretty confident with older vehicles, there's certain things I can fix on it. With these newer cars and stuff, it's getting harder and harder for people at home to fix these problems, even with YouTube and the internet as a resource.
Yeah, well, they don't want you to do that because then you'll do that and then people will be like, oh, well, you can fix your own issues. They want, I mean, and it's also interesting with all this balloon and stuff and the EMP stuff, they were talking about cyber attacks and crazy things. So who knows? It's weird. It's weird. Man arrested, but monkey theft.
Man arrested, but motive unknown in Dallas Zoo monkey theft. This is an article by Jamie Stengel, February 3rd from the AP. The arrest of 24-year-old man accused of taking 2 monkeys from the Dallas Zoo has shed some light on a mysterious string of events. There's police said Friday that they've also linked him to an escape of a small leopard and a gash in the fence of another monkey habitat. What's still unclear what police believe led him to do it. David Irvin, who was arrested Thursday, has been charged with 6 counts of animal cruelty and 2 counts of burglary, said police. Irvin's arrest followed a sighting of him at another home for exotic animals, the Dallas World Aquarium, where an employee recognized him from news coverage of the missing monkeys. We do believe that Irvin was looking to commit another crime, Dallas police spokeswoman Kristen Lohman said on Friday news conference. After the 2 Emperor Tamarian monkeys named Bella and Finn went missing from their enclosure Monday, police had released a photo and video of the man they said they wanted to talk to. Police later said that man was Irvin. But any information about a possible motive was still part of an ongoing investigation, Lohman said. After getting a tip from the police, Bella and Finn were found Tuesday in the closet of a vacant house in Lancaster, a Dallas suburb about 15 miles south of the zoo. Their disappearance, though, was just the latest in a string of odd events at the zoo. On January 13th, arriving workers found that a clouded leopard named Nova was missing from her cage, and police said a cutting tool had been intentionally used to make an opening in her enclosure. The zoo closed as a search for her got underway, and she was found later that day near her habitat. Zoo workers also found a similar tear in an enclosure for langur monkeys, though none got out or appeared harmed, police said. On January 21st, workers arrived at the zoo, found an endangered leopard-faced vulture named Pindead. Greg Hudson, the zoo's president and CEO, called the death very suspicious and said the vulture had a wound. This cocksucker killed a vulture? Lohman said Friday that they were still investigating, but the death of the vulture has not been linked to Irvin. The last month has been an emotional roller coaster for the team at the Dallas Zoo. Harrison Eddles, the zoo's executive vice president for animal care and conservation, said at the news conference. Police said the 6 counts of animal cruelty that Irvin faces are linked to taking the Emperor Tamarin monkeys, 3 counts for each. Lohman said 1 for the burglary charges comes from the taking of the Emperor Tamarin monkeys, while the other is related to the leopard. Lohman had said at the news conference that one of the burglary counts was related to the cut found in the langur monkey's enclosure, but the later corrected it to say it was related to the Emperor Tamarin monkeys. She said Irvin has been linked to the cut in the langur monkey's enclosure, though. Yeah. Jesus Christ. People stealing monkeys out here.
Interesting. I don't know. It seems like some Florida man type thing, but hey, you gotta steal a monkey, you gotta steal a monkey. I mean, hey, maybe you want a pet.
Monkey thievery. Here's a Rogan clip talking about Michael Hastings.
I support his monkey thievery.
Are you familiar with the Michael Hastings thing?
No, I can't say what happened.
All right, well, we'll watch this clip. I don't think this will get us struck or anything.
Not boner. Not boner. I meant a burner. Hello,
this is him talking with an FBI.
Well, the good thing is I can fit my boner in there too,
That's
which is
the thing
good.
that most burner phones come with boners, right?
That's
the reason why
exactly
you're
right.
getting a burner
Yeah.
phone is
As
because
soon as you get that
boner.
burner, you get a boner, and then it's a great vehicle. And like I said, my kids love it, Muggsy and Scooter and Sluggo. And,
That's interesting that you got it because you can't track you with it, and also they can't. Let me ask you this. This is a tough one. I want to ask you 2 conspiracy ones, but this one's a tough one. Michael Hastings. Do you know his case? Do you know his story?
Yeah.
What do you think happened there? Well, let's explain what happened. Who he was. He was a journalist. He was embedded in was it in Iraq during the war? He was writing a story for Rolling Stone, and he was writing about which general was it?
It was
McCaskill?
McChrystal. It was
McChrystal.
McChrystal. Stanley McChrystal. Yeah.
So he wrote this story.
Which is like fucking head honcho #1, like pro-war piece of shit.
And apparently while this happened, the Iceland volcano went off, so they suspended air travel. So he was stuck there far longer than he was supposed to be. And
so he got stuck with the general in, I believe, Afghanistan or Iraq for an extended amount of time. And so he just got to kind of talk with them and bullshit and heard things.
people got comfortable with this guy being around.
Right.
And so they behaved the way they behaved. They made some jokes about things. He apparently made some jokes about Obama. This guy Michael Hastings put all this stuff in Rolling Stone. It wound up being a huge scandal.
Yep.
McChrystal had to step down, and there was a lot of people that hated that guy. And a lot of people loved McChrystal. And he was a highly respected general.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had to step down from his position, and next thing you know, X amount of time later, this guy drives his car 150 miles an hour into a tree. It blows up, engine goes flying, the whole deal. The conspiracy theory was that there was a way, because he had a brand new Mercedes, there was a way that they could take over the controls of your vehicle, the acceleration, the braking, the steering, and they could do all this remotely. If they put something in your car, like we were talking about, if you could get a hold of this television, you could turn that
Basically exactly what Tesla has done now and what we're now seeing these vehicles do.
television into a receiver.
Right.
Do you think that it's possible that someone could have gotten a hold of his car and made him suicide himself?
Two parts to it. One is it possible that you can take control of a vehiel, a modern vehicle?
Yes.
not
modern,
my,
right? Not
not the Woody, not the Woody as we call it. So yes, it's absolutely possible. You can take there's no two ways about
acceleration, steering, everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you've got and I mean, think about people should think about it. Think about
You need to embrace classic vehicles. Buy them. Dude, gold is fucking useless. I've covered this on the channel before. If you've got 5-10 grand to invest, rent a storage unit, buy a 1960s, 1970s nice muscle car, and put it to the fucking side. You will make far more money off of that vehicle sitting there in that storage unit than you ever will off of any gold or fucking bullion. It'll be worth far more down the road. The same is true for the vehicle you're driving. Get rid of it and buy something analog.
the OnStar, or think about the ability for your car to send data to the vehicle manufacturer, right? To tell them, what's going on with your vehicle.
Right.
That's a handshake operation, right? Once you do that means there's an exchange of information. What does that mean? Well, that means you can access. Can you access that information? Sure, of course you can. Does that mean you can then take physical control? Sure. It's just another iteration of the exchange of information, right? Software can take control of physical systems. So So the first part is yes. Is it possible that car could have been taken over? Sure. Do I think that's what happened? I have no idea. I really don't.
Of course.
But it's certainly a possibility. I mean, when I hear people talk about certain conspiracy theories, I look at it and go, "There's just no fucking way that could happen."
Like what one? What one do you say no fucking way?
Actually, now I'm having a hard time thinking of one. I like the theory that with every burner phone you get a boner. That's I can't imagine that could happen. But
Anyway, that's a great explanation of what went down with the Michael Hastings stuff. And I think we'll close the show out there. I wanted to keep this one short. We will be back tomorrow. I do not know if we will have the same setup. I'm going to try to get the store so I can load money on my card, so we'll have all our backdrops and stuff. Kareem, anything else you want to say? Or
No, I think we covered some good stuff. I mean, check out definitely Rage Against the War Machine. We got our
Yes.
state convention coming up, and then I think I'll take a break for a little bit, but I'll still be doing podcasting. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter and all that fun stuff.
All right. Follow the show at Liberty Layton. That's my Twitter as well, and I will follow people back and all that jazz. I'll talk to you guys later.